이제 비리와 미리 따올라오기도 니로 몇수업샤 참고 역거래 가 몇수업샤가 가타는 쿠네 소마 오어라 비바래 에디 가타는 쿠레가ပထမ 가타네 가တော့ဒီနေ့ကြာရင်ကိုယ်တိုင်ပဲတည်ပြီးစုကြီးနဲ့တွေ့ရအောင်မယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုခါမျိုးမှာသာသမီမိဘဆွေမျိုးများမျက်မှောက်မှာရှိနေပြီမယ်လို့တည်ပြီးကမကာကွယ်နိုင်ဘူးအာမကုလောက်ပုံကိုဉာဏ်နဲ့ထင်မြင်စေပါတယ်ဒါဒုတိယဂါထာနဲ့ကမိမိမှာတပါးသူတစ်ပါးဟာဘယ်ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ့မိမိရဲ့အာကိုရာမဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးအာကိုရာဖြစ်လောက်အောင်ပြုကျင့်လို့ရှိရင်မိမိသားလေးမိမိရဲ့အာကိုရာဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးသိမြင်သဘောပေါက်စေပါတယ်အဲလိုသိမြင်သဘောပေါက်စေလို့အမြင်အမြင်ရှိတဲ့ပန္တိတ်ဟာသီလသံဝရောနိဗ္ဗာန်မေကံနိဗ္ဗာန်ဂမနာမေကံခိဗ္ဗမြောဝိသောတိဆိုတဲ့မြတ်စွာဘုရားဆုဆုံးမတဲ့အတိုင်းသီလနဲ့ပြည့်စုံပြီးတော့နိဗ္ဗာန်လမ်းကိုအမြန်ချက်ချင်းပဲရှင်းလင်းပါတော့လို့ဒီလိုပြပါတယ်
Yesterday Sayadaw has explained how through the practice of 4 foundations of mindfulness one can obtain various benefits. Especially there are 7 benefits. Among those 7 benefits Sayadaw has already explained the previous 2 benefits, and he was trying to explain the 3rd benefit as the overcoming lamentation or distress. In that aspect, Sayadaw has given the example of a lady or elder whose name was Patachara. She had to face great trouble during her lay life, and she had lost 2 children, as well as she had lost her husband and even her brothers and sisters and parents. So therefore she was greatly lamenting because of those troubles which came in her life. And later when she went to the Buddha and she had got the admonition from the Buddha, as the admonition of the Buddha, Sayadaw has mentioned 2 verses, Nasanti Putta Tanaya, and so on and so forth. According to those verses, it was said in the first verse that when actually there arises the strong danger in life as the death, there couldn't be anybody to protect them, and there couldn't be anybody to give safety to them. They couldn't provide any kind of help to them. Neither the parents nor the children nor any family members could give them the real safety to get rid of that danger of death. So there wasn't any savior for them. So therefore the Buddha was trying to give her the actual Dhamma urgency to feel in her mind how dangerous the world is, or world was. And after creating the Dhamma urgency in her mind, and then the Buddha suggested her or urged her to try to clarify her own mind through practicing, beginning from the moral conduct and trying to have mental development, and even to gain the gradual understanding through the practice of insight and realizing the path and fruition knowledge, going through the Nibbana. So in this way the Buddha inspired her to try to purify one's own mind as quickly as possible. So that in that way there are two verses which was expounded by the Buddha.
ဘုရားဆရာလည်းဒီအ내အဓိပ္ပာယ်ကိုကောင်းကောင်းသဘောပေါက်ပြီးတော့တတိတံဝေကတွေရရှိသွားပါတယ်။အဲဒီလိုရရှိပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာရှေးကအပြုမျိုးရှေးကအပြောမျိုးမပြုတော့ပါဘူးမပြောတော့ပါဘူးလို့ဒီလိုတရားနာရင်ပဲနှလုံးသွင်းသီလဆောက်တည်လိုက်ပါတယ်ဆောက်တည်ကသီလကိုရှေးဥစွာဆောက်တည်ပါတယ်သီလသံဝရောလို့မြတ်စွာဘုရားမိန့်ကြားတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့လေရှေးဥစွာသီလမှာတည်ပါရနောက်မှနိဗ္ဗာန်ဂမနာမဲ့ကံအရသတိပဋ္ဌာန်နီးလမ်းပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီခိုက်တာမှာပေါ်တဲ့သူ့မှာပေါ်နေတဲ့ထင်ရှားနေတဲ့ယုံ nant သဘောမှန်နေပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီနီးလမ်းတိုင်းရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့တထိုင်အတွင်းမှာပဲသောတပတ္တိမဲ့ဖို့ရောက်သွားတယ်လို့မှတ်ရမှာပါပဲ
When the Buddha expounded these two verses, after listening to those verses, she had got proper understanding. In her mind arose the awakening state of mind, as well as she had got the Dhamma urgency immediately, and as the Buddha urged her to establish her training beginning through the observance of precepts, so she had really tried hard to possess the wholesome behavior physically and wholesome behavior verbally. So in that way she was restraining from the unwholesome state of physical and verbal activities, and she was established the moral conduct herself. And when she developed gradually her practice, and it was said that after listening to the two verses, she also obtained the first part and fruition knowledge as the stream winning.
တရားနာနေတော့မှမဲ့ဖို့သို့ရောက်သွားကြတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တိုင်းအခုပြောခဲ့တဲ့နီးနဲ့ကြည်ရပါတယ်။ဒါကြောင့်အထာဂထာများမှာတိပိဣမိနာဝမက္ကိနတရားနာရင်မဲ့ဖို့သို့ရောက်သွားတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တို့လည်းပဲဒီသတိပဋ္ဌာန်လမ်းဖြင့်သာရောက်သွားကြတယ်လို့သိရကြောင်းကိုကိန်းသည်တတ်မှတ်ပြီးတော့လို့ရေရတော့ဆုံးဖြတ်ထားပါတယ်ဒီနေရာဌာနမှာဒီကာကတော့ခုနနခါရာကိုကြားနာပြီးတော့သတုသစ္စာကမ္မထံပေါ့လေ ကမ္မထာလည်းပဲနာကြတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဒါလည်းပဲသဘာဝကျပါတယ်ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့မြတ်စွာဘုရားအကြောင်းအရာတစ်ခုအစွဲပြုပြီးတော့တရားဟောပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာသမုက္ကန့်စီကဓမ္မဒေသနာဆိုတာပေါ့လေမြတ်စွာဘုရားမှာကိုယ်ပိုင်ပေါ့လေသစ္စာလေးပါးတရားပြပြီးတော့ဟောလို့ရှိပါတယ်တယောက်ပဲဟောမြားပဲဟောသစ္စာလေးပါးတော့ပါလာကြီးပဲအဲ့ဒီကဟောတဲ့အတိုင်းသစ္စာလေးပါးကမ္မထံကိုလည်းပဲနာရလို့ပေါ့လေအခုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်နဲ့ပဲတရားဓုတွေရသွားတယ်လို့ဒီလိုမိတ်ဆိုချက်ရှိပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဆိုလည်းပဲသဘာဝကျပါတယ်
Those noble people who had obtained the highest knowledges or the holiness of the paths during the listening of the Dhamma discourses which had given by the Buddha, they all of them had to do the practice as Sayadaw has already stated. So in the commentary it is directly mentioned that in Pali those who were obtaining the highest knowledges through listening the Dhamma, they also obtain the holinesses because of the practice of this Satipatthana insight practice. Without this Satipatthana insight practice, no one could obtain those highest understanding or noble path. And it is also mentioned in the case of this elder Patachara that after listening the discourses, she also practiced the object through which one can obtain the Four Noble Truth. So after listening the two verses, she tried to practice the object of meditation as the Four Noble Truth, and together with Satipatthana practice, therefore she obtained the first path and fruition knowledge in the end of the discourse of the Buddha.
ပရသရဟာတတ္တပတိဖို့ရောက်ပြီးတန်တငွေကျွေးမှုပြိရိဝကိုလွန်မြောက်သွားတယ်လို့ဆိုတဲ့တထဂတာရဲ့မိတ်ဆိုချက်မှာစောရဏဘွယ်ရှိနေပါတယ်အပြစ်ကျင်ပွဲရရှိနေပါတယ်ဘယ်လိုအပြစ်တင်ရမလဲလို့ဆိုတော့ပြိရိဝဆိုတာဒေါမနစမကင်းသေးတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေမှာဖြစ်တာဘူးဒေါမနစကသောတပန်တကသောကတပတိပင်တကရာကြီးမှာမပယ်သေးဘူးအဲ့တော့ဒေါမနစမကင်းမဲနဲ့ဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့စတ္တဝိပါလာစခေါ်တဲ့ပရိဒီဝကိုနာဂာမိမဲနဲ့သာအကျွမ်းမဲ့ပယ်နိုင်ပါတယ်သောတပတိမဲနဲ့အကျွမ်းမဲ့မပယ်နိုင်သေးဘူးအဲ့တော့အဲ့ဒီလိုအခြေအနေဖြစ်နေတယ်မဟုတ်ပါလားလို့မေးစရာရှိပါတယ်သောတပတိမဲနဲ့ပရိဒီဝရဲ့အကြောင်းဖြစ်တဲ့ဒေါမနစကိုအကျွမ်းမဲ့မပယ်နိုင်တာမှမှန်ပါတယ်သို့တော်လည်းပဲပရသရဟာဥပပါကဥပဒနာမဲ့နဲ့အတူသောတပတိမဲ့နဲ့ဖြစ်ပေါ်စေအဲ့ဒီပရိဒီဝဒေါမနစကိုလည်းပဲပယ်ပြီးတော့များမကြမီပါပဲအထက်မဲ့၃ပါးကိုလည်းပဲဆက်ရောက်သွားတယ်လို့ဆိုရပါတယ်သောတပတိမဲ့သူရောက်ဒီမှာစပြီးတော့ပရသရဟာပရသရရဲ့တဏ္ဍာမှာပေါ့လေဒီကြားထဲမှာပေါ့ညာနာမဖြစ်မချင်းကြားထဲမှာသောတပဖြစ်ပြီးညာနာမဖြစ်ပြီးကြားထဲမှာပရိဒီဝဒေါမနတထပ်ပြီးတော့မပေါ်တော့ပါဘူးမရှိတော့ပါဘူး
And it is also mentioned in the text that when she had obtained the first path and fruition knowledge, she had overcome the lamentation or distress. And if it is so, then there could be some criticism which is tend to be arise or it should become blamable, because just obtaining the first part and fruition knowledge, the lamentation or the distress couldn't be eradicated totally, because the lamentation arises making the cause of hatred or ill will or anger, which is called dosa in Pali. And hatred could be totally eradicated when one reaches to the third part and fruition knowledge. Before that, no one can overcome totally the lamentation or the distress. Therefore, how Patachara could overcome the lamentation immediately after obtaining the first part and fruition knowledge, where she hadn't any power to eradicate the anger or ill will or hatred, how it could be possible? That kind of criticism or that kind of question could arise in the statement here. And the answer is given in the text that although it is true that the first part and fruition knowledge couldn't eradicate totally the lamentation, because she hadn't totally eradicated the anger which is the cause of the lamentation. But since she had obtained the first part and fruition knowledge, in her mind there never arose again that lamentation until she had obtained the other three high part and fruition knowledges. And it is also mentioned in the text that she had obtained the part and fruition knowledges before long. She had obtained the first part and fruition knowledge. So therefore, since she had obtained the first part and fruition knowledge, and she didn't have that lamentation when she had obtained immediately before long to obtain the other highest understandings as the part and fruition knowledges, therefore it is said that she had overcome the part and overcome the lamentation when she reached to the first part and fruition knowledge.
ဒီလိုမိတ်ဆောချင်းရဲ့အကြောင်းယုတ်တိကတော့မိဇိမနိကေမူလပန္နာစကျွလဝေဒလတုံမှာအလုံးစုံသောဒုက္ခဝေဒနာ၌ဒုက္ခဝေဒနာမှာရာဂာနုစိယကိန်းသလောအလုံးစုံသောသုခဝေဒနာမှာရာဂာနုစိယပယ်အပ်သလောဆိုတဲ့အမေးကိုပထမဇန်ဖြင့်ကာမရာဂကိုခွာပြီးကာမရာဂဝေးကွာမြဲဝေးကွာလျက်သားလျင်တစ္ဆတ်သေးအနာဂါမိမဲ့သူရောက်သွားတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်မှာပထမဇန်မှာကာမရာဂမကိန်းပထမဇန်နဲ့ပဲကာမရာဂကိုပယ်တယ်လို့ဖြေဆိုချက်ယုတ်တိတာရကတစ်ခုရှိထားပါတယ်
To prove the statement of the text, so it has shown another proof as the example that in Majjhima Nikaya, or Middle Length Saying, the first book, which is called Mula Pannasa, and there is a sutta named as Chula Vedalla. In that Chula Vedalla sutta, there is questions and answers given there, and the question is, in all pleasurable feeling, does the latent tendency of lust dwells, or in all pleasurable feeling, is it abandoned? The latent tendency of lust. That is the question which is given in the Chula Vedalla Sutta. And the answer is given that when one gets or obtains the first jhanika stage, and since then, if one eradicates the lust of sensuous pleasure, and it remain in the same position without appearing again the sensual lust until one reaches to the path and fruition knowledge of non-returning, then it can be said that in the first jhanika stage there doesn't dwell any sensuous lust. Through the first jhanika stage, the sensuous lust is eradicated.
အဲဒီလိုဖြေဆိုရမှာနာဂမိမဲ့နဲ့သာအကျွင့်မဲ့ပယ်တတ်ရတဲ့ကာမရကနုတ္တိယကိုပရမဇန်ဖြစ်ဒီမှစပြီးတော့ဖြစ်ခွင့်မရှိတော့တဲ့အတွက်ပရမဇန်နဲ့ပဲပယ်တယ်လို့ပြောဆိုသလိုဒီနေရာဌာနမှာလည်းပဲအနာဂမိမဲ့နဲ့သာအကျွင့်မဲ့ပယ်ရတဲ့ပြိတိဝဒေါမနစစိတ်ကိုတတ္တပတ္တိမဲ့ဖြစ်ပေါ်ဒီကစပြီးတော့ဖြစ်ခွင့်မရှိတော့တဲ့အတွက်တတ္တပတ္တိမဲ့နဲ့လွန်မြောက်သွားတယ်လို့ဆိုသင့်တော့တာပါပဲ
And the answer is given in such a way, and the lust, sensuous lust, which can be eradicated only when one reaches to the third path and fruition knowledge as the non-returner. But since the appearance of the first jhanika stage, there wasn't any opportunity, a moment, to arise the sensuous lust when the first jhanika stage is obtained, and gradually the person who was eradicating the sensuous lust from the beginning of first jhanika stage, and he reaches to the third path and fruition knowledge without having any kind of sensuous lust. So therefore, it can be said that the first jhanika stage eradicates or totally destroys the sensuous lust. Whether you could understand it or not, I don't know. quite difficult one. Do you understand it? Yes, okay. Because the topic is so deep, if it won't be clear, then I might be in debt.
ပြီးတော့တရားမင်းသူမြတ်နတ်သားတို့ရဲ့ဒေါမနတခြုံငိမ့်ပုံခြုံငိမ့်ကြောင်းကိုပြတ်ဆိုရမှာလည်းပဲဒီနည်းပဲယူဆစရာရှိပါတယ်အခုပြောခဲ့တဲ့ဟာမှန်ပါတယ်ဘုရားတရားမင်းသူမြတ်နတ်သားတို့မှာသောတပတ္တိမဲ့သူရောက်ပြီးရဲ့အချိန်ကစပြီးတော့မရောက်ခင်ကတော့တရားမင်းကြီးမှာအိတ်တမစ္စရိယာတွေအလွန်အားကြီးတာပဲသူမြတ်နတ်သားမှာလည်းပဲအပေပေးနဲ့စတဲ့ဒေါမနတပေါ့ဒီစိတ်လုံးမချမ်းသာမှုတွေလည်းပဲအကြီးအကျယ်ဖြစ်နေတာပါဘုရားတရားကြားနာပြီးတော့သူတို့ရှုမှတ်တာနဲ့သောတပတ္တိမဲ့ဖြစ်ပြီးနောက်ပိုင်းမှာအဲဒီအိတ်တမစ္စရိယာတွေရှိမရှိတော့ဘူးအပေပေးနဲ့စတဲ့ဒေါမနတတွေလည်းမရှိတော့ဘူးခြုံငိမ့်သွားတယ်လို့ဒီလိုပဲယူစရာရှိပါတယ်
So therefore, it is approvable that when the elder Patachara obtained the first path fruition and path and fruition knowledge, since then she had totally eradicated her lamentation. Because the lamentation didn't arise again when she reached to the highest holy path and fruition knowledge state. And Sayadaw also mentions that the king of deities, as well as there is another deity whose name was Subrahma, they also had great mental pain because of the various conditions which arose in their life, and they also grief-trodden beings, and when they were so disturbed by their mental distress or mental pain, they went to the Buddha and listened to the discourse of the Buddha. And when they reached they obtained the first path and fruition knowledge, it was mentioned that the envy and the miserly state of mind which they had previously, they totally overcome those jealousy as well as envy and the miserly nature which could be the cause to go to the suffering lower world. And they had totally eradicated that mental pain, mental suffering, not to arise again, since they obtained the first path and fruition knowledge. In these cases also, one has to know similarly, as Sayadaw has stated, in the event of the elder Patachara.
အခုလောလောဆယ်ပိဿုပန်ဝတ္ထုတွေလည်းအများကြီးရှိပါတယ်သတိပဋ္ဌာန်တရားကိုပြေဝကျင့်လောက်တဲ့အထိအားထုတ်လို့ငါကသောကမကင်ပရိဒီဝမကင်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာနောက်သောကနဲ့ပရိဒီဝတမင်္ဂလာနှိုးတာတော့မှမနှိုးတော့ဘဲနဲ့ချမ်းချမ်းသောကတွေကင်းပြီးတော့ပရိဒီဝတွေကင်းပြီးတော့ချမ်းချမ်းသာနေရဖို့တာရကတွေအများကြီးရှိပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒါတွေထည့်ပြောနေလို့ရှိရင်တရားရှိသွားမှဆိုတာနဲ့မလို့ဘုန်းကြီးအဲ့ဒါတွေတော့မပြောပြရစီနဲ့တော့
Although Sayadaw has stated the events which was occurred at the time of the Buddha, but Sayadaw also mentions that there are many present events after having satisfactory practice in the Satipatthana insight meditation. Many people overcome their lamentation, grief, lamentation and distress, as well as another defiling factors. But Sayadaw would like to mention them also, but there isn't sufficient time to put all those examples in front of you, so he is not trying to do so. But that means Sayadaw has many examples in his mind, which are the present examples, which are very important. If Sayadaw could explain it one after another, then there might be a lot of impressions or inspiring aspects in his discourse, but unfortunately we are unlucky to hear all those examples from Sayadaw.
ပြီးတော့ဒုက္ခဒေါမနဆန္ဒအထင်ကမာယဧကယနောမေကောတဲ့ဒုက္ခနဲ့ဒေါမနဆတို့ရဲ့ခြုံငင်းကွယ်ပြောက်သွားဖို့ရန်ဒီကြောင်းဤသောခီးပါတဲ့အဲ့ဒီစကားမှာဒုက္ခဆိုတာကိုယ်ထဲမှာနာကျင်ကြိုက်ခဲမှုပေါ့လေအခန့်ခဲမှုဥဒ္ဓမြတ်ဒါဒုက္ခလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲပေါ့လေစိတ်ထဲမှာနှလုံးမသားရမှုမခံစားမှုမှန်သမျှဒါဒေါမနဆလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲစိတ်ဆင်းရဲပေါ့လေနှမျိုးအဲ့ဒီဆင်းရဲနှမျိုးလုံးပဲသတိပဋ္ဌာန်အကျင့်လမ်းနဲ့ပဲလုံးဝခြုံငိမ့်သွားနိုင်တယ်လို့ဘုရားမြတ်စွာကမှရဲရဲတော့အမကန်ချက်ပြီးဟောထားပါတယ်
And the Satipatthana practice is there for the disappearance of the physical pain as well as mental pain. Here the physical pain means unbearable sensations which could arise within the body as aching and pain and the stiffness, tension. All these unbearable bodily pains are called the dukkha. And what? Sarah, what? Say dukkha la amenshi.
Okay.
And there could be the mental pain when there will be grief, lamentation or distress, or not having pleasure in your heart or mind, and the unbearable sensation which may arise in your heart and mind. All those are called in Pali domanassa. That means the sadness or mental pain.
လူတွေတ attva တွေကြောက်တာဒီဒုက္ခနှစ်ခုသိကြောက်ပါတယ်လူဘဝဖြစ်ဖြစ်တ attva တွေဘဝဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ့လေဒီဒုက္ခနှစ်ခုနှုတ်ပြလိုက်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ကျန်တဲ့ဟာတွေအကောင်းကြီးနေမှာပဲကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲလည်းမရှိဘူးစိတ်ဆင်းရဲလည်းမရှိဘူးပေါ့လေတ attva တွေလူတွေအားကြီးချမ်းသာမှာပဲဒါပေမဲ့လို့နှုတ်ပြလို့မရပါဘူးဒီမှာကြောက်စရာကောင်းတဲ့တရားနှစ်ပါးပါအဲ့တော့လူတွေတ attva တွေကြောက်ဆုံးဖြစ်တဲ့ကိုယ်ဒုက္ခနဲ့စိတ်ဒုက္ခစိတ်ဆင်းရဲပေါ့လေဒီနှမျိုးချုပ်ငြိမ်းသွားဖို့ရအတွက်မြတ်စွာဘုရားတဆူသာပဲအမခံပါတယ်
And these two types of the sufferings which could be totally extinguished through the practice of Satipatthana in this world. All the living beings are afraid of these two sufferings. There isn't any other way to get rid of those sufferings except the method which the Buddha had given to this world. And all the beings would like to go away from these two types of sufferings, and they would like to have both types of pleasures in their life.
အခုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်အကျင့်လမ်းစဉ်ဟာအပြည့်အစုံပေါ့လေကျင့်လောက်တဲ့အထိကျင့်သုံးလို့ရှိရင်တိဋ္ဌမထီလို့ဒုက္ခကိုလည်းပဲချုပ်ငြိမ်းစေနိုင်ပါတယ် တရားမဲ့အစားရှိတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များလိုဒေါမနတာကိုလည်းပဲချုပ်ငြိစေနိုင်ပါတယ်လို့အထကရာမှာပေါ့လေအတ္တတေရောဖွင့်ဆိုထားတာရှိပါတယ်တာရကလေးတွေပြထားတာရှိပါတယ်
If people can develop through develop the practice of Satipatthana inside until they can accomplish the practice, then they will be enabled to calm down their old sufferings, such as the example was given in the commentary as the elder Tissa, as well as the king of deities who had also eradicated his mental pain through the practice of this Satipatthana insight.
အဲ့ဒီဝိတုတာရကလေးတွေထဲမှာတိတ်တမထေရဲ့ဒုက္ခကြုံငြိမ်းပုံပေါ့လေသာဝတိမြို့တိတ်တအမည်ရှိတဲ့တချွေတယောက်ဟာမိမိတို့အမှုမခွဲရသေးတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေပေါ့လေတန်ပေါင်း400ပေါ့အဲ့ဒီတန်ပေါင်း400ဥစ္စာတွေညီဖြစ်တဲ့ကျူလာဒိဋ္ဌာကိုလွှတ်အပ်ပြီးတော့ယဟန်ပြုပြီးတော့သူကတောကြောင်းလေးတစ်ခုမှာအခုလိုကိရိတာညီညွတ်တရားတွေအားထုတ်နေပါတယ်။ဒါကတော့အစရှိတဲ့ကိရိတာညီဖြစ်ရအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့အခုယောဂီတွေတရားထုတ်သလိုပေါ့ဒီအားထုတ်နေပါတယ်။အဲဒီလိုအားထုတ်နေတော့မှသူ့ရဲ့ညီဇနီးဖြစ်သူပေါ့ဒီခေမခေါ်တာပေါ့ဇနီးဖြစ်သူကအရှင်ဒိဋ္ဌသာသနာ့ဘောင်မှာမပြောလို့လူထွက်လာခဲ့လို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီတန်ပေါင်း400အမွေတွေခွဲပြီးတော့ပေးရစိုးရိမ်တဲ့အတွက်ပေါ့လေလူသားသမားတွေကိုငွေပေးပြီးတော့အရှင်ဒိဋ္ဌကိုတတ်ခိုင်းပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီလူစိုးတွေကလည်းပဲအရှင်ဒိဋ္ဌကိုဖမ်းဆီးပြီးတော့တတ်ဖို့ရာကြိုးစားကြပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီခါမှာအရှင်ဒိဋ္ဌကယဂရောဓကိရိတာတွေနဲ့ကိရိတာမကင်းမနဲ့သိရတာဟာအလွန်ဆက်ဆုပ်ယုံမုန်းစရာကောင်းတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေသဘောပေါက်ပြီးတော့တကားတို့ငါ့ကိုတညလောက်ပေါ့လေခွင့်ပေးပါမတတ်ဖဲနဲ့ခွင့်ပေးပါပေါ့လေတင်တို့အာမခံခြင်းရအောင်လည်းပဲပေးပါမယ်ပေါ့ဆိုပြီးတော့သူ့ပေါင်ကိုသူပေါ့လေကြောက်ခဲနဲ့ကြောက်တုံးတဲ့အခါကျရိုက်ချိုးပြီးတော့ဒီမှာတရားထုတ်တာပဲ
The example is given as the elder Tissa. He was a son of a millionaire in Savatthi during the time of the Buddha, and he possessed 400 million the ancient rupees, which wasn't yet divided as the inheritance with his younger brother Chulatissa. And after, when he gave up his homely life and became a monk, went to a small jungle, and he did the practice there as a monk. At that moment, the wife of his brother thought herself that if my what you call brother-in-law,
sister-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law.
What is called? Yeah. Sister-in-law or brother-in-law? Huh? She. Sister-in-law thought that Sarah is right. So his sister-in-law thought that if my brother-in-law didn't feel happy in the dispensation of the Buddha, and if he would come back again to the homely life, then we had to divide the inheritance for him also. So she felt fear to give the half of the inheritance to his brother-in-law. So he gathered some bad guys, can I say like that? Or murderers, and she paid money to them, and she sent them to kill his brother-in-law. And they went and seized to Venerable Tissa and tried to kill him. Still, the elder sister was worldling at the time, so he was so much disgusted to die as a worldling. So therefore, she begged to those murderers to release him for a while. And he asked them, please release me for one night and give me the chance to do the practice well. I didn't go away, I don't run away from you, but I will give you assurance myself. So saying thus, he himself took a big piece of rock and smashed on his own both knees and broken to them. And he did the practice, showing the real assurance to those murderers.
အဲ့ဒါမှအဲ့ဒီတာရကမှာကြည့်နော်အရှင်တိဋ္ဌကစည်းရဲကြီးအကြောင်းဖြစ်တဲ့ကိလေသာတွေကိုပယ်နှုတ်ပြီးတော့တကယ်အာမခံချက်ရှိတဲ့ချမ်းသာကိုအပြည့်အဝယူဖို့ရသတိပဋ္ဌာန်တရားတွေအကျင့်နဲ့အားထုတ်နေတာသူရဲ့မကြီးညီရဲ့ဇနီးကစည်းရဲကြီးအကြောင်းဖြစ်တဲ့ကိလေသာတွေကိုဒီမှာဖြည့်ထည့်ပေးနေတာအမှုမခွဲရသေးတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေမတရားရယူလိုတာအပိုင်စီးလိုတာပြီးတော့လူထွက်လာလို့ရှိရင်ပစ္စည်းတွေခွဲပြီးတော့ပေးရမှာစိုးရင်လည်းမလို့အကြံစိုးတွေနဲ့ပေါ့လေဒီမှာလူသားသမားတွေတတ်ခိုင်းတာဒေါသတွေဖြစ်နေတာကြည့်ပေါ့လောဘဒေါသရဲ့အပြစ်တွေမမြင်မဲနဲ့မိုက်ကန်းကန်းပေါ့လေအကြံစိုးတွေဒီမှာလုပ်နေတာကြည့်ပေါ့ဘယ်လောက်ကြောက်စရာကောင်းတယ်ဆိုတာကြည့်လူလောကဟာ
So Sayadaw says we should try to take the great care in this example. One side there is an elder who was trying wholeheartedly to do the Satipatthana practice to get rid of the worldly sufferings, and in the other side there was a woman who was the sister-in-law of that elder, and who was overwhelmed by the worldly possessions, and she even didn't want to divide the inheritance in two parts. Everything she would like to possess them herself, and even to possess all those inheritance herself, she was trying to murder her own brother-in-law, being jealous towards him and as well as being miserly herself in her wealth. So in this way, how dangerous this world is if the mind couldn't be kept in well order, or if one may not have the wise consideration or proper attention in appropriate state of mind, then they could be very dangerous and very sinful.
ရှင်တိသာအဲ့ဒီနီးနဲ့ခိုင်မာတဲ့အာမခံချက်ပေးပြီးတော့တရားကိုပြင်းပြင်းထန်ထန်သူအားထုတ်နေပါတယ်ပြင်းထန်လာတဲ့ဝေဒနာနာကျင်မှုဝေဒနာကိုလည်းပဲရှုမှတ်နေပါတယ်ရှုမှတ်ရဲပဲမိမိရဲ့တိလစင်ကြယ်ပုံကိုဆင်ញင်လိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာတကယ်ကိုအပ်တဲ့ဘွယ်ကောင်းလောက်အောင်တိလကစင်ကြယ်နေတော့နှစ်သိမ့်အားရတဲ့ပီတိတွေကပီတိပါမုစတွေကိုလေဒီကိုယ်လုံးဖြန်းပြီးတော့တသိမ့်သိမ့်တငိမ့်ငိမ့်နဲ့တခါတည်းသူကောင်းလာတာအဲ့ဒီခါမှာဒီရှုမှတ်ဝေဒနာပေါ်မှာပေါ့လေနှလုံးသွင်းရတယ်မရှိတော့နာကျင်မှုဝေဒနာဟာပျောက်ငြိမ်းတယ်လို့ဖြစ်သွားပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုဖြစ်ပုံကိုကျမ်းဂန်များမှာပြထားတာဝေဒနာဝိခံပိတ္တဝဝေဒနာကိုကြွားသည်လို့ဒီလိုမိတ်ဆွေချက်ရှိပါတယ်
And the elder Tissa, who had given to those murderers the real assurance, breaking himself his both thighs or knees, and making the pain of that broken knees, he was observing the pain as pain. So severe the pain was, and therefore he had to make great effort to note the severe pain as pain. And later on, while he was observing the pain as pain, and he also reflecting his own moral conduct, and when he found that his moral conduct was really pure and blameless, and in his mind there arose a strong joy and rapture. And while he was in that way, Sayadaw thought it has finished, but Sayadaw has given me a long passage. And when he was reflecting on his purity of his moral conduct, during that moment there wasn't any painful sensation on his object of pain. And therefore it is said that during that moment he was repressing the painful sensation. It is the statement which had given in the commentary.
တိလတကယ်အရေးကြလို့ရှိရင်သိစိတ်ချရတာသိအားကိုးရတာပဲတိလမဲ့တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကြီးထင်သလိုစိတ်အလိုကြလှုပ်ထားပြီးတော့ကိုမှုနှုံမှုမစင်ကြဲတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကြီးတကယ်အရေးကြလို့ရှိရင်သိဝင်နေတာဝိပရိစ္ဆာရသိဖြစ်တာပဲအဲ့တော့တိလတွေကစင်ကြဲပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တကယ်အရေးရောက်တဲ့အခါမှာဝိပရိစ္ဆာရမဖြစ်ဘူးနှလုံးပူပန်မှုမရှိဘူးစိတ်အေးပြီးတော့တိလအကြောင်းပြီးတော့ပိဋိတွေဖြစ်လာပြီးတော့တရားထုတ်တဲ့နေရာမှာအလွန်ထိရောက်တယ်
So Sayadaw says, therefore the both are hurried today. Sayadaw says how important the moral conduct is when real necessity will be there and real important task will be there. If someone doesn't have moral conduct, while they are trying to do some wholesome deeds, great heart burning or remorse arises at the time, and they cannot do the wholesome deeds exactly in pure condition. So the moral conduct is really the foundation to have development of moral natures. Through the protection of moral behavior, one never could have any kind of remorse in their life, so therefore they could be free from their heart burning.
ဒါကြောင့်ရှင်ယဟန်ပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်လူ့ကြောင့်ပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်သီလအရေးကြီးတာမဟုတ်လို့သီလကိုအလေးဂရုပြုပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေမကြိုးမပေါက်ရအောင်ထိမ့်သိမ့်စောင့်ရှောက်ဖို့လိုပါတယ်အခုစခန်းကပြီးလို့ပြန်သွားတဲ့အခါမှာလည်းတရားတွေမရှိမှနိုင်သေးကြအောင်တော့မှအ ਨੇ ဆုံးလူ့ကြောင့်ဒီမှာဆိုရင်၅ပါးသီလမြဲဖို့လိုပါတယ်အခါအားလျော်စွာလည်းပဲတစ်လမှာ၄သိန်းရှိတဲ့တဲကပေါ့လေ၄သိန်းဥပဒရသီလလေးတွေစောက်တည်ဖို့လိုပါတယ်တော့သီလလေးတွေပြည့်စုံထားတော့နောက်မိတို့တရားပြန်ပြီးတော့အားထုတ်တဲ့အခါမှာအချိန်ကြာမြင့်စွာကသီလတွေစင်ကြယ်သွားတာစင်ကြယ်နေတာအာရုံပြုမိလို့ရှိရင်တရားထုတ်ရေးမှာသိလွယ်ကူတယ်အဲ့ဒီသဘောလေးပေါက်ထားဖို့လည်းလိုပါတယ်
So Sarah would like to urge about the seeing the importance of the moral conduct. It is really necessary to have good moral conduct in one's life if they really want to be free from not to have any burning heart and not to have any kind of remorse in their life. And Sayadaw also would like to suggest all the yogis, though the practice has already going to end tomorrow, and when you go to your own places, keep your moral conduct within your heart and try to protect them. And although you may not be enabled to keep the practice, if you could enable to protect your precept, that would be helpful to protect yourself. It doesn't mean that Sayadaw is urging you to leave the practice. But together with practice, if you can keep the precept as your own property, that would be the best thing. And in such a way, you can have moral conduct through which you will gain the pleasurable life yourself, as well as you will be there to give pleasure to others, and you will become helpful to others. And if you again follow the practice without losing it, then it would be a great benefit for you. So therefore you shouldn't give up your practice, as well as you shouldn't leave your moral conduct although you are going back to your own places or your own house or home.
တကယ်အားထုတ်တဲ့အခါမျိုးမှာလည်းပဲသီလဟာလုံးဝပြည့်စုံနေဖို့လိုပါတယ်သီလမပြည့်စုံလို့ရှိရင်သမာဓိပညာတရားဓုတွေမရတော့မသိဖို့သေးတွေလည်းမစားရဘူးဥပမာအပြင်ဘာနဲ့တူလဲဆိုရင်တိတတ်တဲ့တိပင်ဟာအဆူစိတတ်တွေ6ပြီးတော့နေလို့ရှိရင်တော့လုံးဝမသိတော့ဘူးဆူစိတတ်ရှိပြီမဲ့လို့လုံးလောက်မရှိဘဲနဲ့တိပင်ရညှို့နေလို့ရှိရင်လည်းဖွင့်ဖြိုးဖြိုးမသိနိုင်ဘူးအဲ့ဒါလို့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဝါလင်းနေပေါ့ဒီအတိမစားနိုင်တယ်လို့အဲ့လိုဖြစ်တတ်ပါတယ်ဒါဘလို့သီလဟာသိအရေးကြီးတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့ဒီသဘောပေါက်ဖို့ပါ
While you are doing serious practice, the moral conduct is really important, and depending on the moral conduct, if you do the practice, you can get easy concentration, and you can develop the insight practice quickly. So therefore, it is necessary to protect the precepts yourself, and if you can do if you can protect the precept, then you will get the fruit of part and fruition knowledges to have better taste of those part and fruition knowledges. If there won't be precept, then you will lose the actual taste through obtaining the part and fruition knowledges. It is just like the precept is just like the sap on a tree. If the tree is drying and lack of sap, then the tree cannot bear any fruit, and no one have the taste of that fruit. In the same way, if the sap like moral conduct won't be there in your life, then you couldn't have the fruit-like part and fruition knowledges in your life, and you will be away from the actual taste of part and fruition knowledges.
ရှင်တိတ်္တဟာခုနပြောခဲ့တဲ့အတိုင်းဝေဒနာကိုနှလုံးမသွင်းတဲ့နေရာဖြင့်ခွာပြီးတော့မခံစားမှုဝေဒနာတွေတက်တာရသွားပါတယ်။အဲလိုတက်တာရသွားတဲ့အခိုက်အတန့်မှာဖြစ်ပေါ်ကယုံနာတို့ကိုရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့ဝိပဿနာဉာဏ်ဤအစဉ်တိုင်းတိုးပွားစေပြီးတော့နာနဲ့အာယုန်တက်တဲ့အခါမှာအရတ္တဖို့သူရောက်သွားပါတယ်တဲ့။အဲဒါဖို့သူရောက်ပြီးတော့ပြိဋိဘံစံတော်မူတဲ့အခါမှာကိုယ်စိတ်ကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲတွေပေါ့လေကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲမှန်တယ်အကုန်လုံးချုပ်ငြိမ်းသွားတာပါဒီမှာ
The elder Tissa who obtained the joy and rapture through the reflection of his moral conduct, and when he found the moral conduct so pure, gradually he could repress the painful sensation, and he got some release from that painful sensation, and he could observe the arising, momentarily arising at the moment of the noting those physical and mental phenomena, and he enabled to observe and know the physical and mental phenomena which were arising moment to moment through the practice of insight, and gradually he got the progress in insight, and when the dawn was coming, his all defilements also destroyed, and the dawn also came, and he reached to the highest part and fruition knowledge together with the arising of dawn. After obtaining the holy part and fruition knowledge, when he passed away, totally his physical suffering also extinguished together with his departure.
ပြီးတော့ကြာစခံရတဲ့ယဟန်တစ်ပါးရဲ့ဒုက္ခငြိမ်းမှုယဟန်သုံးကျိတ်တို့ဟာမြတ်စွာဘုရားထံကနေပြီးတော့ကမ္မထအထုတ်တဲ့ဒီယူပြီးတော့ဗောလေတောကြောင်းတစ်ခုမှာဟိုကပ်ပြီးတော့သူတို့တရားအထုတ်နေကြပါတယ်။ခုခေတ်ကတော့အကြောင်းကလည်းပဲသိကြမဟုတ်တော့ဒီလိုပဲသိပင်အောက်ခြုံအောက်ပေါ့လေ။တပားနေအကြောင်းလေးတွေမှာတင့်တော်သူတို့ဒီလိုနေကြရတာပါပဲ။အဲလိုတင့်လျော်ရာဌာနများမှာအထုကြတော့နာနဲ့အနည်းရောက်တဲ့အခါမှာယဟန်တစ်ပါးကြပေါ့လေကြားကဆွဲပြီးတော့သွားလိရှိပါတယ်တဲ့
And Sayadaw says that there is another example of a young monk who was eaten by a tiger. The story goes in this way. Once 30 monks went to the Buddha and got the instruction for meditation practice, and they went to a forest, and they were dwelling in a small hut under a tree or under a bush, and they were trying to do the practice diligently. But early in the morning, sometimes there used to come a tiger, and it was taking away one of the monks most of the time.
The Jazakare Yaha Leve Mimigo Jasway Jamoli, he or Tanjale Lucy, Anibama sitting in a diatony, Yogi Yahamiabo. The Mari Pietwa Mamadi, Diachini Pietwa Mao, what they saw him, 220, Miatiga, and so is a sheet. Elo so is in a time of you whenever. They say clear like Patwa. Eddie Nina Yahan Linga Sevala, Boli, Yotwa, a jungle. Matiga, Tito, but he just where we see, Dana Josuya, may talk about it.
And those monks who were taken away by the tiger, and they didn't make any sound, and they didn't shout it, because they were afraid of being disturbed to those Mayogi monks who were diligently practicing their practice. So therefore, they were silently going together with the tiger. Very brave monks. And in this way, when the number of the monks lessened, and already the tiger had taken 5 or 10 monks.
The Nipa Jaga Leve Sani Jasara Yahangi the Bagu, she need time in La Vida Swabian. Eddie Jazza Khan Yahan Leve Java Shimsharu, Java Shimsharu, the Taina Biosi. Loya Lo Jamoli, Nilan Shafujava. Tabi Melo, Jaga, Maluto Vene, Lumatoya Nine, Kamabia, Sway you with the
When the eldest monk had known the affair that so several monks had taken away by the tiger, so then the elder monk announced what do you call that? Announce a notice, yes. Announce a notice to make sound when if the tiger was taking away them. So once again, the tiger came and dragged a small monk. And that monk made sound, Venerable Sir, here is the tiger, Venerable Sir, here is the tiger. Then the other elder monks take him, some were taking a piece of stone and some were taking sticks and various things, whatever they can get immediately. So they try to run after the tiger to save the younger monk.
Eddie Kama getting to Miana, Nyoninja Mishida Kama, getting the Yahamyaga Uturogo, Jakutia, Lumia Siwaya, doing Aro, Bahamia Matana, no, Tikamu as a Lucy, Yahanuye, Sway 30 Jugu, Povia Mekala, Chitore, Daja, the Yago than Halundu Maro, Ludripi, Pure Jajabare.
But the tiger escaped from those monks because the tiger was jumped away to a chasm, so the monk couldn't chase the tiger. And when they saw that they couldn't do anything to save the life of that young monks, then the monks urged the young monk that, "O noble one, now we cannot do anything to save your life, and this is the time to show your ability as a monk. Therefore, try to reflect upon the Dhamma only." So in that way, they reminded him to do the practice seriously, even though he was taken by the tiger.
ယဟန်ငယ်လည်းပဲကြားရဲ့ရက်စိတ်ကြမ်းကြုတ်စွာကြိုက်ခဲစားခြင်းကြောင့်ဖြစ်ပေါ်တဲ့အလွန်ပြင်းထန်တဲ့ဝေဒနာကိုရှုမှတ်ပါတယ်ပေါ့။ကြိုက်တယ်ရှုမှတ်တာတော့မဟုတ်နားတယ်ရှုမှတ်တာပါလေ။အဲဒီလိုရှုမှတ်တော့ငကောလည်းပဲသီလကလည်းကောင်းတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဖြစ်တော့ခုနစောစောပိုင်းကအရှင်တိတ်တမထေလို့ပေါ့လေ။သီလတွေပြန်ပြီးတော့ဆင်ခြင်တဲ့အခါမှာပါမုဇ္ဇတိဖြစ်တယ်။တရားတွေလည်းပဲနေအထုနိုင်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဝေဒနာလေးတစ်ခါလဲကွာသွားတာပဲ။အဲဒီလိုကွာသွားတဲ့အခါမှာယုံနာကိုရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့ခြေမျက်စိအထိပေါ့လေစားပြီးတဲ့အခါမှာတောတပံဖြစ်သွားတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဒုစရိုက်တိစားပြီးတဲ့အခါမှာသက္ကရကံဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ချက်အထိစားပြီးတဲ့အခါမှာအနာဂံဖြစ်ပြီးနှလုံးသားကိုမစားမီပေါ့လေစားတော့မယ်အပြုတ်မှာပေါ့လေအမှတ်တရားလည်းသိကောင်းလာတာဖြစ်တော့တခါလေအရှင်ကြီးလည်းတက်လာတာဖြစ်တော့အဲ့ဒါမှာကိလေသာကုံကယဟနာဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ဒုက္ခတွေချုပ်ငြိမ်းသွားတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းကျမ်းဂန်မှာပြထားပါတယ်
And the tiger was eating cruelly the young monk, but the young monk was so strong enough, full of mental strength, and he was practicing, trying to note the painful sensation which arose through the bite of the cruel bite of the tiger. And he also reflected after his own moral conduct when there arose the joy and rapture in his mind, and he became able to repress the painful feeling, and he tried to note each and every mental and physical objects, whatever there arose in his practice, and he was trying to note, but the tiger also eating. And when the tiger was eating his ankle, and it is said in the text, the younger monk obtained the first part and fruition knowledge. And when the tiger had eaten to him up to both knees, he had obtained the second part and fruition knowledge. And when the tiger was eating up to waist, he reached to the third part and fruition knowledge. Before the tiger had eaten his heart, the younger monk obtained the highest holy part and fruition knowledge, and immediately all the physical and mental sufferings totally extinguished to that younger monk.
ခုခေတ်မှာတော့အဲ့ဒီလိုတာရကမျိုးမရှိပေမဲ့လို့နေ့နဲ့အလားလားကုသလို့မပြောင်းနိုင်တဲ့ယောဂဝေဒနာတွေကြောင့်အကြီးအကျယ်ဒုက္ခရောက်နေတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များဆရာဝန်တွေလက်လွတ်ထားတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များသီပ္ပံဘာဝနာတရားအားထုတ်လို့တော်တော်လေးကျင့်လောက်တဲ့အပိုင်းရောက်သွားတဲ့အခါမှာအဝဝကောင်းလောက်အောင်ယောဂတွေပြောင်းကြီးသွားပုံတွေတာရကတွေအများကြီးရှိပါတယ်ဒါတွေပြောလို့ရှိရင်လည်းရှင်းနေမှာဆိုလို့ဒါတွေချန်ထားခဲ့ရပါတယ်
Sayadaw says, although there may not be such type of example nowadays, but there was examples of those people who were dangerously ill-trodden, and even the doctors gave up their medication But when they came close to the practice and they did the practice, it was so amazing that they were totally cured and they became free from such physical pains in their life. Sayadaw says there are so many examples about those which occurred nowadays even. So therefore it was really an amazing thing how beneficial the practice is.
ပြီးတော့ဒေါမနစငြိမ့်ပုံပေါ့စိတ်မချမ်းသာမှုပေါ့စိတ်ထဲမှာမတက်မတာဘူးငြိမ့်ပုံတရားမင်းကြီးရဲ့ဒေါမနစငြိမ့်ပုံတာရကပြထားပါတယ်ကျမ်းဂန်များမှာတရားမင်းဟာပုဗ္ဗနမိတ်၅မျိုးထင်ပြီးတော့သိရမှာမိမိသိလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပဲမိမိတဲ့သားတဲ့တရားတူပေါ့လေပေါ်ပေါက်လာမှာပေါ့လေမိမိစိတ်တွေကိုလည်းပဲသူတစ်ပါးလက်ထဲရောက်ပြီးတော့ပိုင်ဆိုင်သွားမှာပေါ့လေအဲဒီစိုးရိမ်ကြောက်လန့်တဲ့စိတ်တွေပေါ့လေအလွန်မဲ့သူဟာနှလုံးမသားရတဲ့စိတ်တွေဖြစ်နေပါတယ်
And Sayadaw says in the text there is another example, the extinction of the mental pain of a king of deities. Once the king of deities had seen 5 types of forerunning signs of his death. And after that he was so afraid of losing his pleasurable state of king of deities, and also he had some grief arising in his mind that after his passing away another king of deities may arise and he will belong to his all possessions. So that kind of envy or jealousy also arose in his mind. So therefore, being the grief-trodden deity, and he got strong fear in his mind, and he had strong sadness, which he was feeling terribly.
အဲ့ဒီလိုနှလုံးမသားမရဖြစ်ပြီးတော့မြတ်စွာဘုရားထာမကိုသူရောက်ရှိပြီးတော့မြတ်စွာဘုရားကိုမေးလျှောက်ပါတယ်နတ်တွေလူတွေဟာတဲ့ဘေးရန်ဒုက္ခအမြဲတမ်းကင်းပြီးတော့အေးမြတ်ချမ်းသာစွာနေကြကြပါတယ်တဲ့သို့ပါလေဘာကြောင့်ဘေးရန်ဒီဒုက္ခတွေနဲ့သာတွေ့ကြုံနေရပါသလဲဆိုတဲ့အဲဒီမိကုန်းကစမေးပြီးတော့ဗောလေမြတ်စွာဘုရားကကိုယ့်ထက်သာမနာလို့အိတ်သာကိုလိုသူတစ်ပါးကောင်းစားချမ်းသာမချမ်းသာစေခြင်းနဲ့ဝန်တူမှုမစ္စရိယအဲ့ဒီတန်ရောစဉ်နှစ်ပါးရှိနေခြင်းကြောင့်နတ်တွေလူတွေဟာချမ်းသာခြင်းကြပြီမယ်လို့မချမ်းသာနိုင်ကြပါဘူးတဲ့ပိယံဒုက္ခတွေနဲ့ကျုံနေရပါတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းပေါ့လေဒီတက္ကပညာသုတ်မှာမြတ်စွာဘုရားအမေးဖြေနေဟောထားတာရှိပါတယ်
And when he couldn't do anything to calm down his mental suffering, a mental pain, so he went to the Buddha and he asked the question to the Buddha, Venerable Sir, in this world, all the deities as well as the men who they don't like to have any kind of suffering, they want to get rid of all those sufferings and want to possess happiness and peace in their life, but they couldn't get rid of those fearful state of life. What are the real causes to have that kind of suffering in the deity's life as well as in the life of human? Then the Buddha explained to the king of deities that in this world all beings have the envy they don't want to see others' prosperous life. They don't like to see others' happiness. They are all the time jealous with others' peace and happiness. Because of one of those causes, they couldn't gain any kind of happiness in their life. And there is also another cause, that they had the thought or intention to give suffering and pain to others. They don't want to give any kind of peace and harm-free life to others. That kind of stinginess or miserliness is there in the mind of the beings. So therefore, because of these envy, jealousy and stinginess or miserliness are the two causes through which all these deities as well as men are getting trouble, and they couldn't obtain any kind of happiness in their life. They couldn't go away from the suffering and fear.
ဘုရားဟောတဲ့တရားထဲမှာမမိဝဲတဲ့ဝေဒနာမိဝဲတဲ့ဝေဒနာများကိုခွဲခြားစိတ်ပြပြီးတော့ဟောနေတော့တရားမင်းဟာသဘောကျပြီးတော့မိဝဲတဲ့ဝေဒနာများကိုရှုမှတ်ပယ်ရှားပြီးတော့ဗောလေမိဝဲတဲ့ဝေဒနာများကိုဖြစ်စီမိမိတဏ္ဍာမှာဖြစ်ပွားစီပြီးတော့အခုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်နည်းရဗောလေရှုမှတ်ပွားများတဲ့အခါမှာမကြခင်မဲ့သောတာပန်ဖြစ်သွားတယ်သောတာပန်ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ခုနမနာလိုမှုဝန်တုံးအိတ်တမစီရတရားတွေပြီးတော့နှလုံးမသားရမှုတွေလည်းပဲလုံးဝပျောက်ငြိမ်းသွားတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်
And the question answer was described in a sutta which is called Sakkapanya Sutta. After having the discourse from the Buddha, and the king of deities understood that there are two types of feelings. One should be usable and another should be abandonable. One should be taken one's life and one should be give up from one's life. And when he understood these two types of feelings and he tried to discard the abandonable feeling, and when he used the acceptable feeling, and when he reflected on that object through the practice of Satipatthana insight, and gradually he obtained the insight knowledges and reached to the first pattern fruition knowledge. When he got that knowledge, since then he became free from this those envy and envy, jealousy, as well as from the stinginess.
ဒီပြင်တာရကတွေလည်းအများကြီးရှိပါတယ်အချိန်ကမလုံလောက်တဲ့အတွက်အဲ့ဒီတာရကတွေခဏထားကြရတော့မှာပါပဲပြီးတော့ညာသတိကမာယနိဗ္ဗာန်သာစัจจิကရိယာယဧကယနောမေကောတဲ့ညာရခေါ်တဲ့အရိယာမဲ့ရဖို့ပြီးတော့နိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုမျက်မှောက်ပြုဖို့တနည်းအားဖြင့်လည်းပဲအရိယာမဲ့နဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်မျက်မှောက်ပြုဖို့နဲ့အရိယာဖို့နဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်မျက်မှောက်ပြုဖို့တခုတည်းသောလမ်းပါလို့အဲ့ဒီလမ်းဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သတိပဋ္ဌာန်လမ်းပါပဲလို့မြတ်စွာဘုရားက6ခုမြောက်အကျိုးနဲ့9ခုမြောက်အကျိုးတွေကိုပေါ်တယ်မှာဖော်ပြတော်မူပါတယ်
And after that, although Sayadaw said that there are so many examples which are very important to describe, but we don't have time to do so. So Sayadaw would like to go forward. And another benefits which the Buddha had shown in the practice of Satipatthana meditation is the highest path and fruition knowledge through which one can realize the Nibbana when they obtain those path and fruition knowledge. And they can get rid of all sorts of sufferings, and they will really see the actual cessation of all those causes of sufferings and obtain the nibbanic state through the practice of Satipatthana meditation.
ဒီနေရာဌာနမှာအရိယာမေကိုရရနိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုမျက်မှောက်ပြုရန်သမပဒအစရှိတဲ့တခြားဘာဝနာများလည်းပဲရှိသေးတယ်မဟုတ်ပါလားအဲ့ဒါတွေလည်းပဲနိဗ္ဗာန်ရောက်ကြောင်းမဟုတ်ပါလားလို့မေးစရာရှိပါတယ်မှန်ပါတယ်ဟုတ်တာတော့ဒါပေမဲ့လို့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်နဲ့กินပြီးတော့သမပဒအစရှိတဲ့တခြားဘာဝနာမှာမဖြစ်နိုင်ပါဘူးဒါကြောင့်ဒီသတိပဋ္ဌာန်ကိုအရိယာမေရဖို့ရနိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုမျက်မှောက်ပြုဖို့ရတခုတည်းသောလမ်းကြောင်းလို့ဆိုရပါတယ်
And Sayadaw is raising a question again. Aren't there other types of aspects to obtain the part knowledges as well as Prusan knowledges to realize the Nibbana? Why the Buddha had gave preference only to the Satipatthana practice? And the answer is given in the text that although there are other aspects to obtain the part knowledges as well as Prusan knowledges to realize the Nibbana, but main role is played by the Satipatthana. Therefore, the Buddha described the main aspect of those four foundations of mindfulness in this place.
ဥရိဒအကျဉ်းစကားမှာတတိကူသာတတိပဋ္ဌာန်လို့ပြရခြင်းဟာလည်းပဲဘုန်းကြီးတို့ကျမ်းဂန်မှာတော့ပဓာနာနည်းနဲ့ပြဆိုတယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်အမှန်ကတော့တတိတစ်ခုတည်းနဲ့ဘာဝနာကိစ္စမပြီးပါဘူးဝိရိယလည်းပါရပါတယ်ပညာဆိုတာလည်းပဲရှင်ဘက်အနေနဲ့ပါရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါတွေပြည့်ပြည့်စုံစုံဖြစ်မှသာပဲဘာဝနာကိစ္စပြီးစီးစီနိုင်ပါတယ်ဒါကြောင့်အကျယ်နိဒိတမှာအတ္တပိသမ္ပဇာနောလို့ဝိရိယပညာတို့ကိုလည်းပဲသတိပဋ္ဌာန်ဘာဝနာမှာထည့်သွင်းပြီးတော့ပြထားတာတွေထင်ရှားပါတယ်
Although in the brief introduction the Buddha had shown the mindfulness and given preference to the mindfulness according to the grammatical rule, there is the rule which is called Padhananaya, that means giving preference to the major aspect. So the sati was shown in the brief instruction in the Satipatthana Sutta because the Buddha was giving preference to the main aspect of sati. But not only the Buddha described sati as the Satipatthana here, because there are another necessary aspects also. Therefore, to show the important another aspects in the same instruction, Buddha described another two words at atapi sampajano. That means not only the mindfulness is important, but it is they are also important to have in the practice. They are the effort as well as the wisdom or understanding.
အထူးမှတ်ဖို့ရန်ကတော့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်လမ်းကိုအရိယာမေရဖို့နိဗ္ဗာန်မျက်မှောက်ပြုဖို့တခုတည်းသောဒီကြောင်းတည်းသောလမ်းလို့ဟောတော်မူတဲ့အတွက်သတိပဋ္ဌာန်၄ပါးမပါတဲ့ဘာဝနာနည်းမှန်သမျှကိုမဲ့ဖို့နိဗ္ဗာန်ရောက်ကြောင်းဤကောင်းလမ်းမှာမဟုတ်နီးမလမ်းမကြီးပဲလို့မြဲမြံစွာမှတ်ထားဖို့ပါပဲပြီးတော့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်ဒေသနာတော်တိုင်းဝါမြအားထုတ်လို့ရှိရင်မှားယွင်းချွတ်ချော်ခြင်းမရှိဘဲနဲ့မဲ့ဖို့နိဗ္ဗာန်သို့သာဧကံရောက်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုတာလည်းပဲတဆင့်တိုးပြီးတော့မှတ်ဖို့လိုပါတယ်
And Sayadaw also mentioned that the important aspect which we should remind ourselves is the Buddha described the Satipatthana practice as the one and only way to obtain the noble path and to realize the Nibbana. It means without the four foundations of mindfulness, no one can obtain the path and fruition knowledge, and no one can realize the Nibbanic stage. Apart from those four foundations of mindfulness practice, there couldn't be any practice as the best practice to obtain such important understandings. And if there won't be the four foundations of mindfulness in any practice, then we should try to remind that those practices are not real practice and true practice. They are wrong practices. And again, it is also remindable that if the practice is following with the four foundations of mindfulness and the practice is developed through those aspects, there couldn't be any wrongful practice. There couldn't be any mistake in the practice. And without having any wrong way and mistaken way, through the practice of four foundations of mindfulness, it is sure that one can really reach to the path and fruition knowledge, and they can realize the Nibbanic state, which should be recollected thoroughly in the mind of the yogis.
ဘာကျိုးလူများကိုရစီလိုပါသလဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေအခုပြောခဲ့တဲ့စကားစီအရာအဲ့ဒီရဲ့မေးခွန်းရဲ့အဖြေကိုလူရင်းချုပ်ပြီးတော့ဖြေပြီးပါပြီ
The Sayadaw says why one has to do the practice, and for that question Sayadaw has already given the answers with all these explanations.
နောက်ဆုံးမေးခွန်းကတော့ဘယ်ရွယ်ကစတင်သင့်ပါသလဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေ
And there is another question, in which age the practice should be developed.
9 နှစ်အရွယ်လောက်ကစလို့ရပါပြီ
And Sayadaw says when one reaches to the age of approximately 7, and then they can do the practice.
အဲ့ဒီမေးခွန်းရဲ့အဖြေလည်းပဲပြီးသွားပါပြီ
And that question also already answered.
ဒါပေမဲ့ဗုဒ္ဓလက်ထက်တော်ကာလကတော့9နှစ်သားထဲမှာရဟန္တာဖြစ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များလည်းပဲရှိခဲ့ပါတယ်
But during the time of the Buddha, there were some elders who had obtained the highest path and fruition knowledge and realized the Nibbana at the age of 5.
ဒါပေမဲ့တိတ်များများစားစားတော့မဟုတ်ပါဘူး4ယောက်လောက်ပဲဘုန်းကြီး
But there were not many, and in the text they are mentioned only 4 elders.
အဲ့ဒီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတော့ပိဉ္စစည်းလသမာဓာနိယထေ
And one of them was named as Panchasila Samadhana Thera. Could you remember it?
ပြီးတော့ပဒုမထေရဆိုတာ
And another Thera is called Paduma.
ခြားတစ်ပါးတော့ဝလိယထေရ
And another one's name was Walliya Thera.
နောက်ဆုံးတစ်ပါးကတော့ကျန္တနမာလိယထေရလို့ဆိုပါတယ်
And the last one was named as Chandana Maliya Thera.
သူတို့ရဲ့ထေရုပတ္တိမှာကြည့်ရတာအပါဒမှာကြည့်ရတာတော့ဇာတိယဇ Yadiya Penjawasina Rata Mapapune Ludilubiat Havare. Ngani and Nevoli through a letter for Yakajare, Ludilu Sumija Shivare.
In Apadana Pali, when the text shown their life history, it was mentioned that when they reached to the age of 5, they obtained the Arhathood.
The Guketa Luemero Matema Ganita Sorum Camino Chini, the Atu kind of Pima Mahobo. Davi Melo, Miva Cheta Bukumia, Kaune Alitali, Ya also Vira Ningere Alitali, Lupi Luare.
Nowadays, it might not be possible to obtain the Arhathood at the age of 5, because nowadays the 5-year-old children are still playful too much. But it is the duty of parents to give some kind of habit, good habit to them, or better habit to them, if they can introduce them little by little how to do the practice. Half an hour already passed away. Let us stop the discourse now.